From Torrey Gymnasium at Washington Community High School, Clutch Sports Media is live. Today, it's a rematch of the Mid-Illini Conference opener between the Washington Panthers and the Limestone Rockets. Good afternoon, everybody. Alongside John Camosa, I'm Larry Larson. And John, this should be an exciting one. We talked to Eric Schermerhorn before the game, and he said he anticipates seeing a different Limestone team than they saw on Thursday night.
Yeah, Thursday night, Larry, Washington handed Limestone a 66-40 loss. So, like he said, we might see a different team out here. I know that Tony Thomason and his team might make some different adjustments as opposed to what they did Thursday. They stuck 3 to 4 guys on Devin Vanderhyde, 6'7" star forward for the Panthers. So you might see him switch off a little bit, maybe go into a zone, do things that can work for more of their benefit. But I think we're going to see a different game today here.
I think we certainly could. And as you mentioned, Washington coming out on top in the Mid-Illini and season opener by a score of 66-44. Looking at Limestone, John, they've got a lot of talent. Couldn't put it together on Thursday under first-year head coach Tony Thomason. But as I said, they've certainly got some players who can light it up.
Yeah, as you said, we talked to Eric Schermerhorn before the game. He said a couple of guys that really stood out for Limestone are Josh Garner, a senior guard, and a junior forward, Caden Nation. He said Josh Garner looks like he's been putting in this work for 11 months. You can really see it in his play. They're both really explosive. Caden Nation, he's a force to be reckoned with in the post, so I think he's going to give him some trouble today. When he really turns it on, he could be a power for them.
And, of course, looking at Washington's squad, you mentioned Devin Vanderhyde, but they go a lot deeper than that. Drew Lewis, a returning starter. Ethan Mounts, a returning starter. Isaac Mapson played big minutes last year as a sophomore. What are you expecting from them today?
Yeah, I think they're really well balanced like we saw on Thursday night. Washington had 12 different guys score for him. He also said Coach Eric Schermerhorn really likes Isaac Mapson for him this season. He's really developed as a player. He loves to sit right down in the post. He's kind of the glue guy of this team, so he'll be a big production down low getting your rebounds.
So the starting lineups, it's going to be Drew Lewis, Ethan Mounts, Isaac Mapson, Tyler Bass, and Devin Vanderhyde for the Panthers as we're underway. And for Limestone, Josh Gardner, Drew Taggart, Sam Morse, Frank Driscoll, and Caden Nation. Comes a 3-ball from the right wing from Taggart. It's off the mark, but it'll stay on this end.
Another guy to really watch today, Ethan Mounts, like you mentioned. He's a very scrappy player. He's great on the defensive end, forced a lot of turnovers. Washington prides himself on the defensive end, as we've seen throughout the years.
Caden Nation tries the jumper, a little bit off the mark. And here come Ethan Mounts and the Panthers. Tyler Bass, the Loras College commit. His jumper short, cleans up his own mess, and he's fouled.
And that's what he really likes out of his team is they don't sleep on any shots. The guys are going after their rebounds constantly, so they're always fighting, scrapping for loose boards. Washington, very well-balanced team.
So Bass will have the opportunity to get the Panthers on the board, and he does so. And obviously this Washington team has the star power whenever you look at Devin Vanderhyde, but like you said, just so deep. Yeah, Tyler Bass knocks down the second.
Tyler Bass is another one of those guys that's really developed through the years. I think it helps when you're playing with a lot of seniors, kind of develop and grow as a player. We've seen good things out of him, especially last year. He kind of came into his own.
Into the backcourt to Nation. Now to Driscoll. Hands off to Gardner. Eric Schermerhorn called him one of the most explosive players in the area. Taggart at the right wing.
And watch this matchup down low. You'll have Vanderhyde on Nation. I think that'll be really good. They'll both give each other some fits, especially if they switch off. Look for him, Mapson down low. Tyler Bass, Andrew Lewis really pushes his weight around. So I think we're going to see a closer game today.
Closer than Washington's big victory on Thursday. Washington entering this one 1-0, Limestone 0-1. Second game of the season for both squads. Vanderhyde can shoot from this range. Lobs it low out to Lewis. Here's Mounts to Vanderhyde.
That's what he loves to do. Vanderhyde's really strong inside. I think, too, Larry, another thing for Washington will be key is their size advantage. You see they got 3 guys 6'5", Vanderhyde 6'7", opposed to Caden Nation being their only guy that's 6'6" out there, looking like a lot of guards.
Nation tries to respond, and he can't do so. You can tell he's got that move. Just a little short that time. Bass open in the corner, thought about the three. He'll bring it back up. Looking for Mounts, and he gets it to him.
And you can see Driscoll really pushing his weight to keep Mapson out of the paint there. Mapson had
He's going to try the wide open three. A little bit off the mark. Bass hauls it in. Washington will have a second opportunity, and a travel's called on Drew Lewis.
And one thing you'll really see is the unselfish play by the Panthers. Love to work the ball, play for the good shot.
Nation to the left is called. Washington has their number early on. They keep going to Nation, but he just can't get a good look.
And I think that's huge, especially a key to the game, is they really keep Nation out of the paint, especially contain Josh Garner, and you can see Washington find success again like they did on Thursday. I think those are the two key guys that you want to contain.
Ethan Mounts walks it up. Tyler Bass at the right wing. Mapson wide open again. He won't try the three that time. Lewis skips into the paint. Bass for the three.
There's Mapson working his way. Can't get it.
Gardner in transition. Goes right to the rack. And he's fouled. Eric Schermerhorn livid on the sideline. Did not like the call. Almost a simultaneous arrival between Gardner and the Washington defender, but advantage Gardner, and he'll shoot two.
Yeah, Larry, and talking.
First shot for Gardner. Got it. Rockets get back within two.
Yeah, Larry, and as we mentioned earlier, Washington playing a little bit shorthanded out with 6 players today due to COVID concerns. So without a couple of the
on the Panthers today, 3-ball from Mapson in and out. A little closer on that attempt, but no less a rebound for Limestone.
And they're leaving him out there. He's not afraid to shoot it.
Oh, what a block from behind. Drew Lewis with a shot fake and called for the travel again.
Second turnover, just getting a little bit ahead of himself there. You can see he really wants to get it and go.
Yeah, you know, the head fake looks pretty smooth. I just don't know about that travel call. It's close. A lot of the time the officials don't like moves like that. But Lewis came close to dragging his pivot foot. And now we have a masked timeout. I want to take this opportunity to remind you that today's broadcast is brought to you by Jake Weston of State Farm. Call Jake Weston at State Farm for all your insurance needs. 309-444-4441. Jake from State Farm. You wonder how many times he gets that a year.
Yeah.
It's Jake from State Farm.
Yep.
Washington up on Limestone 4-2 early on, and John, looking at the Limestone Rockets, you know, what have we seen from them early on? They've gotten some good looks, but buckets just aren't falling.
Yeah, buckets, you know, it's not falling. But on the defensive end, you can see they're clogging that lane. They're keeping Mapson outside. He was a force down low on Thursday, so I think they're trying to contain that lane, keep him out of there. They're giving him open looks from 3, but they'd probably rather have him shoot that 3 than have him down there fighting for rebounds.
Washington has shot the 3 on their end quite a few times. I think that's credit to the Limestone defense.
Yeah. Keeping
them out of the paint.
And yeah, guys like Mapson, especially Bass, Vanderhyde, not guys you want down low.
Yeah.
Because they can eat you up down there.
And John, go ahead.
I haven't seen Vanderhyde step out and shoot it yet, like you said, Limestone's defense, because he can light it up from 3.
Certainly can. We've seen it throughout his career. Taggart in trouble. And Washington nearly forces the turnover.
But back to your point, Larry. Sorry about that.
I was going to say that looking at the season as a whole and looking at the Washington roster, this is the team I was going to feel really bad for if the season got canceled because there's so much talent. A lot of it is senior talent. Devin Vanderhyde, Ethan Mounts, Tyler Bass. This could have been the year they put it all together in some sort of state run. Of course, no state playoffs, as you see the jumper from Nation a little bit short. Rebound to Vanderhyde. But you know, regardless, no state playoffs, you can still play for a conference title. Vanderheit dials it up from deep.
There's that three we talked about. You don't want to give him that space. He'll shoot it on you all day. Yeah, and like you said, Larry, you only lose Dane Newkirk from last year. You got your entire team back. So unfortunate there's no postseason, but I still think they'll make the most out of their Mid-Illini conference season.
Playing for a conference title this year, just like nearly everybody. So Gardner heads back to the line. Went 2 for 2 a few minutes ago.
Still got a lot of games to see yet, but as far as these, you know, 1 quarter in and Thursday's game, Washington really looks like they haven't been off too long. It looks like these 11-month layoff, they look like one of the more polished teams in the area that we've seen, especially in the Mid-Illini.
Well, you know, it just depends on every team and how they go about the practices. Everybody has really had the same amount of practices. Gardner misses a second free throw, rebounded Drew Lewis. But I'm sure Eric Schermerhorn had him practicing hard. And a very experienced team, as we've talked about multiple times, that certainly helps.
Oh, definitely.
And these guys have been in the gym, well, certainly not with the team when they're not permitted, but here comes a three from Lewis, rattles in and out, rebound to Nation.
Just off. They give Washington space. They're definitely not a team that's afraid to shoot the ball. Got some three-point shooters on here.
Great effort from Gardner. He gets knocked down, and it will stay with Limestone. How about that hustle from Gardner, driving right to the bucket, got his own rebound, tried again, couldn't get it to go.
He's one guy that never gives up on a play, plays hard until the buzzer.
And now a foul on the offensive end. So the bucket from Taggart does not count. Drew Lewis will walk it up. Washington ahead by 4 early on, looking to move to 2-0 on the season. Vanderheit, nice find. Kienitz, 3 off the mark. Rebound bounces around, and Gardner tiptoes the baseline to haul it in.
Gardner looking to make a move here.
And a travel.
Seen some early turnovers, both teams. A little bit of excitement, maybe getting a little bit ahead of themselves.
As we look at the head coaches in this one, Tony Thomason in his first season at Limestone, taking over for Eddie Matthews, who was there for 9 seasons. Won a state title in 2013. Eric Schermerhorn in his second season as head coach, of course, has been in this Washington program for a long time.
Yeah, you talk about all the experience he mentioned, you know, something that's really been instilled into this program, the defensive, the toughness. He sat on the bench alongside Kevin Brown, longtime head coach, so great coach to be your mentor.
Lewis, the mid-range, almost got it. Rebound to Morse. Nation with it in transition. Nice find and a nice layup for Drew Taggart.
That's the one thing about Caden Nation, too. You know, he's a big guy. He can run the floor, too. He's not just going to stay in the post. He can get in transition, so.
Lewis slows it down and walks it up. Vanderheit at the left elbow, lays it up, and it rolls off the rim.
There is he open for a three again.
Got it to go.
They do not want to leave him open on the corner today.
You don't want to leave him open anyway.
No. He's dangerous.
He's up to 8 points. Now Limestone's going to try to respond, and they do. Sam Morse, the junior guard, knocks it down.
Limestone back within 2. They got shooters of their own on their team, too. Don't want to leave them open on the corners, but.
Vanderheit double teamed in the post. Drew Lewis back over to Coker.
Ooh.
Off the mark.
Another rebound, Taggart.
Gardner, 3 ball.
There it is.
You bet.
Limestone takes the lead.
Wow, Limestone roars back.
And that's one player, as Schumerhorn mentioned, explosive. You don't want to let him get going out there, especially if you're Washington.
Kienitz hounded on defense, and it's going to be a turnover. Limestone's going to have a chance to take an even bigger lead. How about this momentum swing?
You know, I think it helps too, the home and the way that we've seen this year as opposed to last year, a little bit different where they're playing closer together in the season with the season being shortened, but gives them time to adjust. You know, 2 days, they've seen things they want to fix a little bit.
Nothing can beat game reps. We were talking about it last night in the Richwoods-Peoria high ball game. You can only practice so many times. Whenever you get game reps, it's always advantageous. Horsham checked into the ball game across half court. He's in trouble. Finds Ellis on the left wing. Gardner in the corner. Nation's got that range, and he shows it off.
How about the shift, Limestone?
Vanderheit's going to try another three.
Ooh,
almost. Nation in transition. He's going to pull up once more. Tip in, no good.
Gardner almost had that rebound.
Fighting for it. Things are getting exciting in the first quarter in this one, a high-paced battle. In case you're just joining us, Washington opened up a 5-point lead, but the Rockets have launched back, so to speak.
And how about the effort so far by Josh Gardner?
Not just scoring, but all over the map. Gardner from mid-range. Off the mark.
Rebound, Lewis.
Walks it across half court. Nobody in front of him. He'll try the mid-ranger off the glass, no good. 8 seconds left. Limestone's gonna have a shot here. Gardner, layup too strong. And that's how the first quarter ends. Limestone by 4.
I think Lewis, you could see there these last couple possessions really wanted to penetrate. They're not giving him that entire lane, forcing him to shoot some mid-range jumpers that just aren't falling right now. Credit to Limestone on the defensive end there. Kind of keeping that paint clogged.
I want to take this break to remind you that today's broadcast is brought to you by Jake Weston at State Farm in Washington. Call 309-444-4441 for all your insurance needs. It's Jake from State Farm. We thank Jake for his support of Clutch Sports Media and local high school sports. Glad to be back at Torrey Gymnasium. Been a while. You always see good games here.
Yeah, it's been too long. Especially, you know, missed out on the, we love the TOC tournament, the Tournament of Champions that they put on. Unfortunate that we didn't see that this year. Open for next year, but always a great tournament that they put on here at Washington.
It really is, and it's impressive that they're able to bring in some of the best teams across the country into Washington every year. Become a claim to fame for this city. Zion Williamson, Anthony Davis, to name a few.
The list can go on and on.
Yes.
Tyler Hero, more recently, Miami Heat star.
E.J. Liddell, Ohio State star. Adam Miller, Illinois freshman, among others. Second quarter about to get underway. It'll be Limestone basketball. No tip-offs this season, so we saw at the start of the game an inbounds pass and alternates with the possession arrow. Horsham in the backcourt will get us started in the frame. Hands off to Clayton Bell, the sophomore at the free throw line. Lost the basketball trying to get it to Gardner. Going to work on Bass, showing off the handles. Here's a wide open three from Driscoll. He got it.
And just like that, Limestone out to a 7-point lead on the Panthers. We've seen a completely different team in these last 4 minutes.
How do the Panthers respond? Mounts to Vanderheit, into the post for Lewis. He can go to work there, gets the double team, gets it out to Bass. Floater alongside the baseline, and it rattles home.
Strong take by Bass there, just gets it to go right off the glass.
Washington back within 5. They could use a stop here. Gardner's gonna try the long ball, too strong. Rebound loose, Mapson on the floor for it, and a jump ball is called. Possession arrow favors Washington. Panthers pulled ahead early. Limestone roared back, holding the 5-point lead.
And that's one thing you got to love, Larry. You know, despite a all the changes we've seen this season and no fans, more of a quiet atmosphere, you still see the energy. These guys are diving for loose balls, so you got to love to see that.
Mounts to Lewis on the right wing. Vanderheit open for another three, but it's not going to count. Foul on the floor. The bucket is going to count. 3 ball for Vanderheit, and Washington keeps possession.
It's his 3rd 3 of the game. Chance for
Vanderheit up to 11 points. Willing the Panthers back into this one. Not that they were ever out of it, but down early. Vanderheit with 11, and Bass with 4. Panthers go to Lewis, and he picks up his first points of the ball game, and we're tied back up.
Quick 7-0 run by Washington.
Look at Eric Schermerhorn on the sideline, waving his arms around, telling his team to put hands up on defense, and it forces a turnover. Lewis to Vanderheit in transition. Off the front of the rim, no good. Gets it back, hook shot. No good once again, still loose, and Limestone comes down with it. Here comes Morse. Euro step off the glass, no good. Gets his own rebound. Mapson had it, not anymore. Gardner step back 3, you bet.
What a sequence.
It's intense here in Washington on this Saturday. Mounts into the post to Vanderheit, gets a quick look. Hook shot off the back iron, no good. You saw he was triple teamed. Nation holds in the board.
Nation wanted it.
Now he's going to try the mid-ranger, and he got it.
Back and forth game so far. Nation, you can see the explosiveness out of Nation and Gardner right now.
5 points for Nation. Lewis back to the rack, and he got it. Lewis up to 4 points, and it is a timeout taken by Washington. Limestone ahead early, and for those who may be joining us after watching Thursday's matchup between these two teams, you may be a bit surprised.
It's a different game. Back and forth. You know, one thing I really like out of Gardner, Nation, and on Washington's side, Andrew Lewis and Vanderheit, just so explosive and can create their own shots, you know. We've seen that today. Gardner's very lethal with that step back 3 that he's been shooting.
He has been very good. Gardner with 9 points early on here.
Cade Nation's chipped in 5. He's starting to find his rhythm a little bit. He's held quiet in the first, but starting to find his groove.
Taking a look at one of our featured players today, Devin Vanderheit, the senior, still uncommitted, but getting a lot of D1 looks at the mid-major level. Limestone basketball out of the timeout. They hold the 3-point lead, looking to build on it. Taggart walks it up. Jets into the lane, and we get a whistle away from the basketball on Drew Lewis. That's his first, team's 4th. It'll be Taggart to trigger it in, right side of the bucket. Slaps the basketball. No look pass to Bell. He almost lost it, but he gets it out to Morse. Now to Gardner. He's got that range. Crossover, thought about the step back.
Gardner's wanting that ball again, trying to create his own shot.
He's double teamed in the corner. He gets out of it, and Taggart loses the basketball in a tie-up. A tie-up or a foul. Either way, it's going with the Panthers.
Is that 3 or 4 loose balls we've seen guys on the floor, so battle early on, you love to see it.
Guys are hustling. That's what you expect after taking however many months off. These kids are hungry to play basketball. Drew Lewis passes it back to Mounts, and the 5'10 senior walks it up.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, Larry, with their 6 players out, don't take these games for granted, because a case pops up, you could be done for 2 weeks, and that's half your season.
Vanderheit to the baseline. Nice move off the glass and in.
Love that mid-range shot that he's got. Such a smooth player down low. Uses his size to definitely.
13. Taggart to the left wing. Morse now to Nation. Here's the dribble drive by Ellis. Floater off the glass and in from Taggart. Vanderheit drives to the left block. A lot of contact there, no foul. Limestone comes away with it. Nation thought about the three. Look at those handles from the big fella. Morse in the left corner. Faked out Mounts. Teardropper. A charge.
Yeah, Larry, and one thing we've seen, they haven't doubled or tripled off like they were on Thursday, but you can see, especially in that corner, how quick Vanderheit can blow by you, and they have to come and help off. Like as we see, already up to 13 points, so see if that adjustment works in the long run.
Panthers down by 3, opportunity to draw even here.
Tyler Bass looking for it. Nice cut to the basket.
Bass knocks it in. Bass with 6. Limestone going to work on offense. Lob down low off the backboard, looking for Nation.
Quick three.
They get a fortuitous bounce, and the 3 from Horcham was off. Bass will set up the offense. Vanderheit the lob down low to Mapson with the fake and the bucket.
And that's where they can burn you inside if you get lost.
Horcham facing the stout Panthers defense.
Mapson the rebound.
Mounts into the paint for Vanderheit. Hook shot no good. Fights for his own rebound. Falling out of bounds. Finds an open Mounts. Dials up the 3.
I love the extra effort inside. Guys just finding their own rebound, making a good pass, or finishing on their own.
All of a sudden, Washington up by 4. Taggart, the no-look pass to Nation.
Wanted it. There's a steal by Bass.
Look out, he slams it home. Panthers up by 6.
Two-handed dunk by the 6'5" senior forward. Good defense in the corner by Washington, pounding them.
Lots of traffic in the corner. Washington comes out with it.
Lays it in.
Could have been 2 straight dunks. Instead, breakaway layups and a timeout by Limestone.
And look at the change in the Panthers right now. Storm right back out to a lead. Seeing that back and forth all game. See if Limestone can respond out of the timeout here in the last minute 56.
Bass already up to 10. Vanderheit with 13. Take this break to remind you, today's broadcast brought to you by Jake Weston at State Farm in Washington. Call 309-444-4441. Lots of 4s in that number.
Lots of 4s indeed.
Thanks to Jake Weston for the support of high school sports in the area. Larry Larson and John Camosa in with you. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. Mid-Illini Conference battle between these 2 teams. Limestone looking to get back to 500, and the Panthers looking to move to 2-0.
Yeah, Larry, and talking about that well-balanced offense that Coach Eric Schumacher mentioned early in the game, or early before the game, we're seeing that again today. Vanderheit and Bass, seeing Mapson really work his way inside. Mounts forcing turnovers. Already got a couple steals so far. So this Panthers team's well-rounded. Limestone looking to get Nation going inside a little more. Doing a good job on Garner outside on the wing.
Longer pause here. Now we get it back into play. Taggart Stares into the full court press. Gardner lobs it across. Horcham was open, passed up the three. Taggart into the lane. Bounce pass down low.
Doing a good job of blocking that lane off.
Nation double teamed. And a foul is going to be called on Mapson. First foul on Mapson. Panthers fifth.
Officials timeout on the floor.
Either this is a masked timeout or timeout taken by Washington. Either way, get a brief break. Washington ahead on Limestone in a back and forth battle early on. Panthers pulled ahead in the first quarter. Limestone roared back, took a 5-point lead. Now the Panthers up by 8.
Early on, you could see the difference when you get Devin Vanderhyth going. Up to 13, which was really paced Washington. If you're Tony Tomlinson coming out of this timeout, you like to get something going, at least chip back a little bit into this lead. You don't want to give Washington a 10-point lead before halftime here.
You hear the energy in the Washington huddle. Can't hear much from the Limestone huddle. Not sure if that says anything about the score, but maybe the Rockets a little discouraged. Played well for a stretch there in the first quarter into the second quarter. But no less, the Panthers out in front.
You know, as we've seen in years past too, you know, touching on these Washington teams, their defense is so good it takes you out of your rhythm. It takes you out. You've seen they want some shots that they try to create, and they've really eliminated that. Here's Nation inside.
Nice hook shot.
He had a fight
from
for that
the forward. Ahead to Bass, and he's fouled from behind. Goes for a slide on the floor. He'll go to the stripe for 2.
You know, Washington too doing a good job in transition, finding the open man in the corner, and they've been pushing the ball inside. I think that's what's helped them grab this lead.
They've got so much size. That's what you expect from them. They've got the outside shooting factor as well because all their big guys can shoot, but they go inside, pretty good chance they get a bucket. Bass' second free throw, he got it. Knocked them all down today. He's up to 12.
You mentioned size. One of the guys out today with Devin Vanderhyt's younger brother, Braden. He's a 6'2" freshman, still with time to grow. So,
3 ball from Gardner on the other end. Rims out.
There's Bass again, pushing
Panthers chance to go up 10, and they do it in a big way.
Second dunk of the game from Bass. Doing a good job of getting back down there. They're finding him open.
Limestone needs a response. Under a minute left in the half. Nation tries the 3, and he got it. That's how you respond to a dunk.
10 points now for Nation.
The Stars lighting it up in this one. Bass having a big game as well as Vanderhyt. Nation able to play well as well. And Gardner fouls Lewis, who's trying to jump the pass. But instead he picks up foul number 1 on the day.
Yeah, and that's one thing you're going to see with Washington. You know, Vanderhyt on paper coming in, but then you got a guy like Tyler Bass who's your leading scorer. Any given night, it could be one of these guys between Drew Lewis, Mapson, Mounts, Vanderhyt, or Bass.
Lewis goes to the line. Panthers in the bonus. Bonus free throw up and down. So he'll get another. Lewis scored 10 points on Thursday. Washington's victory over the Rockets at Limestone. Mid-Illini Conference playing back-to-back games against the same teams as Lewis gets the friendly roll. And so that could result in some close games, especially in that second game.
Definitely. There's a nice steal there. And here's Washington again in transition.
Panthers Out ahead by 11. That lead keeps growing.
Like I said, Larry, they don't want to be down in a double-digit hole by half. There's
Nation. Wow, what a bucket.
Brings them out of it. Down 9.
The athlete going up to get it. 8 seconds to go. Lewis look to set up the shot for Washington. Gets a screen from Vanderheit. He's open. He'll try the tray at the horn off the iron. And that's how the first half ends, with the Panthers up by 9.
Didn't get it to go, but if you're Washington, you're not mad at Devin Vanderheit, your best shooter, with a wide open three to end the quarter there.
Vanderheit with 13 points in the half, but the Panthers are led by 14 from Tyler Bass, the Loris College basketball commit, lighting it up here today. Caden Nation with 12 to lead Limestone. And that's where we'll leave it. We'll take a short break, and before we do, we want to remind you that today's broadcast is brought to you by Jake Weston at State Farm in Washington. For all your insurance needs, call Jake from State Farm at 309-444-4441. We'll take a short break on Clutch Sports Media. Thanks for joining us. Working through some technical stuff today, but we're doing our best. We'll be right back. Welcome back inside Torrey Gymnasium. Thanks for hanging with us today, working through some major technical difficulties. Problem with the internet. That's how it goes sometimes. Washington enters the second half up by 9 on Limestone. The Rockets played a very good first half, led by Caden Nation with 13 points. But the Panthers force a turnover in the possession. First possession of the half, and Washington will have the opportunity to strike first.
And if you're Limestone, you want to get something going early here. You don't want to dig yourself into another hole.
Line drive 3 from Mapson off the mark. Driscoll kicked out. Nation open, shot fake. Now he tries the 3, and he got it. 16 points for the junior. How does Washington come back?
That's the thing. If they're going to eliminate his looks inside, he's not afraid to shoot it outside. We've seen him already knock down a couple trays.
Morse jets ahead to the left block. Can't get the spin off the rim. Driscoll with the board. His shot no good. Great defense by Mapson and company.
A lot of battles we've seen down low tonight. Drew
Lewis in the right corner. Up top to Mapson. Thought about the 3. Thought better of it. Lewis will try the tray. Too strong. Vanderheit's right there. Trying to work through the double team, and he does.
See how much power he's got behind him, too. That double team doesn't seem to phase him. Still going up strong.
Panthers up by 8. 6:30 to go in the third quarter. Nation at the deep right wing. Washington with a strong zone defense. Trap defense of sorts. Nation's 3 again.
Another one.
2 in the half.
Kind of picking up where Josh Gardner's not in right now. Nation taking the 3-point slack.
Nation got in foul trouble in these two teams' first matchup, and he's got 18 points in this one. No fouls. Mounts to Bass. Bass has had a big game. 14 points. Mounts. Mapson, another 3 try from him, and he got it that time.
Seen 4 or 5 looks out there. He finally gets it to fall at the top of the key.
He'll make one eventually.
Keep leaving him open.
Mapson has 5. Here he is on the fast break. Try to fakes out Nation, and Nation caught an elbow to the face. He's a little shaken up, but play keeps going. Now a timeout.
Stop play.
Caught an elbow to the face.
Wasn't sure if he was bleeding or not, kind of holding his mouth there.
Goes right into the trainer's room, and play will resume. Limestone without its best player for now. Hope he's all right.
Like you said, hopefully nothing serious, because that's your guy that just knocked down 2 big threes for you. You want him back out there quick. It looked like he just caught that elbow at Mapson. Josh Garner back in for the Rockets, one of their star players. Trying to create his own shot.
He'll pull up from 15 off the mark. Mapson the board.
And here's Nation now walking out of the trainer's room. See if he might check back in here soon for the Rockets.
Looks to be all right. Got checked out. Lewis in the paint is fouled. Ball got knocked out of his hands. 5:07 to go in the third. Washington 41, Limestone 37. Nation back in to check in. Sitting at the scorer's table. He'll check in after this free throw from Lewis. First one is down.
And if that tells you anything, the intensity we've seen in this game, don't be surprised, like we just seen get caught by an elbow, because these guys are fighting down low. Seen a lot of intensity today.
Lewis off the mark, goes 1 for 2. Limestone will have a chance to pull back within 10.
Garner really smooth with the ball movement there.
It's a turnover. Taggart's not happy about the call. He thought that was off of Washington.
Tony Thomason doesn't like it either.
Limestone has been frustrated a little bit today, playing closer than their loss on Thursday to Washington, which opened the season for both teams. Panthers came out on top, 66 to 40 in that one.
Yeah, and 4:45 left in the third, and Limestone right there on their points from Thursday. Only three away from their 40 that they had. So we've seen a more high-powered Limestone team come out today.
It's a masked timeout, so we take this break to remind you that today's broadcast is brought to you by Jake Weston at State Farm in Washington. For all your insurance needs, call Jake Weston from State Farm, 309-444-4441. Jake Weston. Appreciate the support from Jake today and all of you watching at home. Despite our challenges today, doing our best.
Trying to work through the technical difficulties and bring you a good stream in the process.
We'll get there eventually. Haven't had great luck these last 2 days, but we'll figure it out eventually. Panthers up by 11, 4:45 to go, third quarter. In case you're just joining us, Devin Vanderheit leading the way for the Panthers with 15. Tyler Bass right behind with 14. And Caden Nation leads all scorers with 18 points, including 4 threes, if my calculations are correct. Limestone needs to lean on him a little bit. They want to get back into this one. John, what do the Rockets have to do better?
You know, I think definitely close them off down low a little bit. They're letting Washington get inside, get too many rebounds, too many second chance points, eliminate some of those threes, step out on them, and then, you know, they're doing a good job of creating their shots, but like I said, Washington's got such a good defense, it's just hard to get anything inside on them. So I think you keep Nation going where he's at. He's doing well creating his own shots, and you got to get Josh Garner going. When Josh Garner gets going behind the arc, they're very dangerous.
Down by 11. Gardner goes right to the rack. Excuse me, that's Taggart. His layup no good. Morse on the outside. Back to Taggart. Going to work on Bass. Scans the floor.
Nation,
trying to get it to Gardner, and now he does.
Nation wants it inside. You can see him calling for it there.
Gardner hounded on defense. Gets it back to Taggart. Spins in the paint, looking for an opening, and he finds one.
Hit every bit of the rim there.
Nice bucket from the senior guard. Panthers run it really quick to Mapson. Easy layup and the foul.
It's the thing, Matson gets in too deep. Coach Eric Schumerhorn mentioned earlier in the game he loves to be down there. He's the guts guy. He loves to get inside. It's hard to contain that. We've seen that Thursday, and we're seeing that a lot today with Mapson.
With the foul, Driscoll checks out, and Clayton Bell, the sophomore forward, checks in. Mapson spins the ball in his hands and is too strong with the free throw. He sits at 9 points. Nation, the one-handed sling to Taggart.
Another
and
steal.
Turns it over.
That's a big thing.
Here comes Lewis, and he slams it home. Wow. The 6'1 junior guard getting up.
And Larry, you just mentioned what do you want to do if you're Limestone? Not turn it over. They've been turning the ball over too much, which is leading to fast break points for the Panthers, and quickly see that score change right there. They got back in it a little bit, but Washington continues to run it up.
We'll see how Drew Taggart and company respond. Morse over to Bell. Gets it inside to Gardner, and the foul is on the floor. Gardner had a wide open look at the bucket, so a frustrating foul for Limestone, despite the fact it was on Washington. That'll be Ethan Keenit's second foul. Ball inbounded to Nation. Scanning inside and gets it to Gardner. Nation wide open from deep.
There's another, smooth.
Boy, does he have a good stroke. He's got 21 points. Keenit's inside to Mapson. Mounts. The shot fake, the three rolls over the backboard.
That's what makes Caden Nation such a versatile player. You know, if you block him off and you don't give him that lane, he can step out and still burn you from behind the arc.
Panthers up by 10, 52-44, 3 minutes to play in the third frame. Gardner to Morse.
Quick give and go.
Gardner almost got it.
We've seen a lot of those today. They're just not getting those rolls.
Vanderheit will try his own three, and he got it.
Nailed it.
Anything Caden Nation can do, Devin Vanderheit says he can do as well. 18 points for the senior. Pass inside
Another
for Morse, rattles off, and it's going the other way.
Seems like that's the tail of the tape there. Every friendly roll that they can't get, Washington responds with a three.
And John, one thing today, anytime Limestone comes down to the other end, gets a big bucket, Washington always responds.
Yep.
And if the Panthers keep responding, it's going to be real hard for the Rockets to get back into this one.
I agree with you, Larry. And that's what makes Washington such a dangerous team. Like you said, Limestone could get down there and get you 2-3 buckets in a row. Washington's going to come right back on you.
10.5 minutes to play. Washington and Limestone in a Mid-Illini Conference battle. Drew Lewis, Ethan Mounts. Wow. Panthers have opened it up from three. It's raining.
Couldn't get that one to fall in the corner a little bit ago, but he gets that to fall now.
Limestone needs some sort of spark. Taggart.
Garner.
Now Gardner's three, too short. Offensive rebound goes to Nation, and he lost the basketball, but he'll go to the stripe. Caden Nation with 21 points. Chance to get to 23 here. We mentioned that he got in foul trouble in the last meeting between these two teams, and that kept him largely off the scoreboard, below double digits, but tonight he has lit it up. Second one off the mark. Rebound to Mapson.
And as we kind of mentioned about these both teams, you got Devin Vanderheit, your top player with 18, but there's a balanced scoring down the board. You got Caden Nation with 21, and you're still in a hole here. So they need to get something else going a little bit.
Vanderheit up to 20, one short of Nation. Wide open three in the corner for Morse. Can't get the bounce. And a push is called on Isaac Mapson. Drew Lewis checks back in, mounts to the bench. Limestone keeps the basketball. Watch for Nation posted up on Vanderheit, and he gets the inbound. The left wing, head fake, tries the tray. That time it's off the mark. Rebound goes to Bass.
Bass pushing it in transition. He's got Lewis.
Lewis wide open. He got it.
And we're just raining threes today.
Washington can do it all. They can get the buckets inside. They can throw down the dunks. They can make it rain from deep. Lewis up to 12 points.
And you know, Larry, we thought we were going to see a closer game, but Washington's really turned it on.
We saw a closer game in the first half, in case you're just joining us, as Washington turns the basketball over. And it'll be a timeout, under a minute to play in the third quarter. Take this break to remind you that today's broadcast is brought to you by Jake Weston from State Farm out of Washington. You can call Jake for all your insurance needs at 309-444-4441. Jake Weston at State Farm. Thank him for his support today. In support of Washington athletics and high school sports. And John, looking at this ball game, we said we expected a closer game, and it was close in the first half, first quarter. Washington roared out to the lead, but then Limestone came back and took a two-possession lead. But since then, it's been all Panthers, and almost to the fourth quarter here. What do you do if you're Limestone? I
think there's got to be a lot of frustration if you're the Rockets today, because they are getting good looks inside. They're getting good looks from three. Shots just aren't falling. You know, and if you're Washington, you just continue to go with this momentum and run it up. But if you're Coach Tony Thomason, just tell him to keep the energy. You know, don't get discouraged. But you look at the scoreboard, it's hard not to. Got to keep playing. But Washington, Limestone comes down on the other end. They're losing some of their assignments, and it's leading to Washington threes. We've seen them hit a couple open ones. So I think Washington's just on right now. We'll see if Limestone could turn it around here to end this third quarter.
They inbound to Lewis. And he's able to cash in. Not quite a dunk, but pretty impressive. Drew Lewis up to 14. So many high-scoring performances from the Panthers today. 65-42 Panthers, under 40 to go in the quarter, excuse me. Ball's tipped out of Washington.
They almost forced another turnover there. Washington's just really getting up on them. It's hard to kind of get anything going if you're Limestone.
Taggart with the crossover, nice move. Finds Ellis in the corner, back up top to Morse, jump pass. Ellis again, this time he tries the three, it's short. Nation with the board, trying to slip through the defense, and he gets the friendly bounce off the front of the iron.
That's a fun matchup right there, Vanderhyde on Nation.
Drew Lewis with the right hand into the paint. He's blocked Vanderhyde right there, and he is fouled. 0.9 to go in the third quarter. Just enough time for that shot from Vanderhyde. Foul was on Horcham, his first. Vanderhyde's first free throw rattles in and out. You can kind of tell he knew it right out of his hand. He started walking forward. He knew he missed that one. Toes the line.
Usually pretty consistent at the line. Let's see if he can knock this one down. He does.
Nation heaves the length of the court, and it hits the ceiling. Tough break for Caden Nation, and that's kind of been the story of the day for Limestone. Down by 22 to the mighty Washington Panthers, having a great game in this one. Thanks for joining us on ClutchSportsIL.com, brought to you by Jake Weston in Washington. Jake Weston at State Farm. Call him for all your insurance needs, 309-444-4441.
You talk about that well-balanced attack that Washington has. And even Isaac Matson 1 point away from having four players in double figures.
We want to shout out our entire crew today. Jonathan Michael, the best cameraman in the business. Joey Wright producing, and Matt Harrington working the social media and roaming the sidelines. Thanks to our entire crew. Hard work all week.
Absolutely.
Hustling all over. There's Joey Wright.
There's Joey Wright, yeah. Appreciate the shout out, Larry. I've been wearing my headset all game long, have had my mic turned down, but yeah, it's great work on behalf of our entire crew. John Michael, Matt Harrington is, I think right now we can see him. Wish I had the telestrator, but he's on the top left of your screen there on the balcony, so appreciate him for helping us on social media today. As you've said, working through a little technical difficulties, a little bit of latency and lag on the stream today. Working through it, but
we recognize that. We're not going to be oblivious to that.
No,
we'll get it fixed for next time. So we appreciate you bearing with us, despite the big-time problems. Doing our best to get the game to you today. Washington basketball out of the quarter break. Vanderhyde finds a wide-open Lewis. He's going to dial it up. Line drive shot, no good. Limestone out with it. Gardner, nice move. His layup short, rebound loose, ahead to Washington. Vanderhyde and Bass running the fast break. He tried the behind-the-back pass, and it was a little too fancy. Schermerhorn not happy. He goes to his bench to send in Andrew Corker as Limestone responds with a three. Timeout taken by Washington. And John, I think Eric Schermerhorn wasn't happy with Devin Vanderhyde there.
And you see the score, and they're still up 22, and Eric Schermerhorn turns to kick a chair on the sidelines. They want to continue to have this intensity. They don't want to let up and let Limestone cut into this lead at all. So,
and I'll hop in again real quick. The behind-the-back pass and the turnover. And then Coach Schermerhorn was the other end. That's when he continued to flail his arms a little bit. So just proof to any young player watching, coaches, whoever, those turnovers, when you try to get a little too fancy, the other team can take advantage.
I think, too, more of the frustration on his end is you get this mindset, you're up. You don't want your players to start getting lax. Keep playing with that same type of momentum, intensity that you've had all game. Don't just let the score tell that you can get comfortable.
Exactly.
Bass is fouled on the drive. One's going to be on Caden Nation. And Joey and John, one thing You see Vanderheit on the bench now, pulled out of the game after that pass, but he's still into the game. He's engaged, and that's another lesson for young players out there. You get pulled out of the game after a turnover, you got to still be engaged and root on your teammates, despite the mistake. And that's what Vanderheit has done.
Well, and Larry, forgive me, but have you and John gone into the story that Eric Schermerhorn told us before the game, Devin versus his brother in practice the other day? Yeah, and of course Braden Vanderheit on the team, a freshman. Not going to see him today, but they were going at it in practice, you know, brother on brother, and of course there's always going to be a little more emotion there and some extra physicality, but they were taking charges, they were going down, shoving each other. I mean, they were just into it and getting into it and showing that passion, showing that emotion, and that's what you're going to see from Devin, and when we eventually see Braden Vanderheit, him as well.
Devin checks right back into the game, right on cue.
Yeah, Joey, and as you said, during that little scuffle in practice, and Coach Eric Schermerhorn said that when they went home that Braden didn't talk to Devin the entire car ride. So you can see that brother rivalry. But for Devin being a senior, pushing his brother as a freshman, we're going to see good things out of the younger player.
Absolutely.
Free throw too strong from Frank Driscoll. Here's Drew Lewis in transition. The lob to Vanderheit. A little too aggressive there, but Mapson is right there to clean it up. I don't think Eric Schermerhorn's happy about that either.
Larry, it goes back to a point that John made a moment ago and that you made last night when we saw Richwoods and Peoria go at it. Neither the boys or girls game was particularly close, but especially, you know, towards the end of those games with having so few practices and, you know, still being in the middle of this weird year, you take any opportunity to practice that you can get. And here you've got a good opportunity to do so against foreign competition and in a live game situation. So even in the last 8 minutes of this game, I don't want to say it'll become a scrimmage, but you can really work on a lot that you wouldn't have the flexibility to really see in practice.
I agree with that, Joey.
That's just what you got to do. The game reps. You can't beat them. Foul on Washington here. It's going to be on Bass, his first of the ball game. Bass has had a really nice performance today, 14 points. Been instrumental. One of 4 players on the floor for Washington in double figures. First free throw can't get the bounce off the front of the iron, so it's one and done for Taggart. Mounts on the other end. His 3 is off. Vanderheit with the board. Back to Mounts. No look pass to Vanderheit. Goes right inside to Bass. Look at this ball movement by Washington. 3 off the mark from Mapson, but they got great looks.
It's one thing you really like to see about Washington, too. Really patient with the ball. Always making that extra pass, and we might see a big... Could have been a dunk.
Everyone kind of saw that coming, John, and I think that Devin Vanderheit might have remembered what Coach had to say.
Yep.
He had the opportunity for sure.
Floater off the glass and in by Gardner. Limestone still playing here. Washington with the response.
And guys, we saw the same thing on Thursday. Mapson just plants himself down there. He's fighting for how many second chance points?
Gardner tries to drive and it's knocked out of play. Now we'll see a substitution. Jamari White, 6'3", sophomore. First time we've seen him today. Another substitution as well, Andrew Coker. Back into the ball game. We saw him a little bit earlier.
Want to shout out, and now I think I'll have the opportunity to do this, Matt Harrington.
There's Jamari White.
White lays it in. I guess I probably didn't start that at a great time as Limestone got moving on offense, but I want to just tell our viewers, Matt Harrington got a great shot of one of the dunks we saw earlier. I don't know if he's posted it to social media already, but
3 on the way from Taggart, off the mark, and Vanderheit gets the ball knocked away, and here's Limestone in transition. Nation with the trailer, but the Euro step and the finger roll from Sam Morse. That was a nice little bucket. Limestone picks up a little momentum at the 4:33 mark of the fourth quarter.
Larry, what do you say I take this read?
Go ahead.
How about it? Today's broadcast brought to you by Jake Weston, State Farm agent in Washington, Illinois. For all your insurance needs, call Jake Weston. That's going to be 309-444-4649. 888-848-4441. Jake Weston supporting our broadcast today, proud supporter of Washington High School athletics and athletics all across the central Illinois area. So, Jake Weston, we thank you for your support today. Jake from State Farm, you beat me to the punch with that.
Too easy. Out there for the taking. Panthers up big on the Rockets, 74-51, excuse me. Mid-Illini Conference battle. Washington took the first game of this two-game season series on Thursday, and they're well on their way today.
Yeah, and Joey, as you mentioned just a little bit ago, in a game like this, you said you could treat it more of a scrimmage game, and unfortunately with Washington, this would be the type of game where you could start bringing in those younger players. And as we said earlier in the broadcast, they're without 6 guys. So
right, and it's just tough. They've done a great job of managing the lineup and kind of getting some guys in there in spite of the lack of depth that they have today, and I think Limestone will rotate in some new players here soon. Although, Larry, as we saw last night, I don't want to say that almost won Richwoods the game, but they took a game that really wasn't in question and made it at least a little bit of a game late,
Oh, man.
And they
it got interesting.
It did. It got interesting for about 40 seconds at the end as they started hitting threes, and Peoria, they weren't
making the free throws.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen today here, but you never know.
It's not over until it's over.
It's a game that Richwoods just kind of ran out of time in. And I saw Limestone play at Metamora last season, and that was much the same situation. Limestone was victorious in that one, but they found themselves holding off a late comeback from Metamora. Redbirds heated up from 3 late, just ran out of time. It's going to take a lot more than, I think, 4.5 minutes for the Rockets today, unfortunately, for them.
Mounts shakes his defender, and his 3 is off. Nation will run out in transition, and he gets the ball tapped away by Lewis, but Ellis gets it right back. Taggart, floater is no good. Coker thought about the 3. Instead, we'll try the floater in the paint. He got it to go. And here you see some of the deep bench guys, or as deep a bench as we're going to get today for Washington. They're still hitting shots. They're knocking them down. They're looking good. Nation steps on the sideline.
Yeah, and if you're Limestone today, one thing that Tony Thomason's definitely going to talk with his team in practice is those turnovers. Got to eliminate the turnovers, especially a team like Washington, as dangerous as they are throughout the lineup. You give them any chance, and they're going to respond like this on you.
Mounts looking for some space. And another thing about this game, sometimes you can take it for granted. Both teams playing hard. That's something that we saw yesterday, despite the lack of a close game. Vanderheit's 3 is off, and Lewis puts it in. But both teams, winning big or losing big, they're playing their hearts out. And that's something that you would expect from these athletes after all the doubt that came this season. And Nation gets the blocking call.
Larry, I want to bring up real quick before I forget, about 3 minutes left. This, I believe, is the first game we've been at this year. I'm going to qualify this. We were at Dunlap and Pekin the other night. That game didn't happen. But this is the first game we've seen with fans, correct?
Yes.
None last night and none in Metamora on Tuesday night?
Correct.
They would have been there on Thursday. But
I was going to say, potentially fans on Thursday.
Yep.
Due to COVID, we didn't see that game unfold. Which might shake up the schedule here for Washington, seeing as how they play Dunlap Tuesday and Thursday coming up this week in a home and away. Might not see that happen due to a COVID case that broke out on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, we can't say for sure what's going on at Dunlap, but game was postponed due to COVID concerns.
And we intend to be in Pekin on Tuesday night, so you kind of fill in the blanks. And
Pekin Morton, boys game coming up on Tuesday on ClutchSportsIL.com. More Mid-Illini Conference action. Basket rattles in and out.
Larry, and it looks like I added a phantom 2 points here for Limestone, so we'll take care of that. They only have 51, but yeah, we're excited to be in Pekin on Tuesday. Hopefully back here in Washington on Thursday for Washington Dunlap girls. That'll be a fun one. Kim Barth and Heather Cassidy run 2 good programs.
What a dish inside by Devin Vanderheit, finding Andrew Coker, who lays it in.
Washington and Dunlap respectively. And John, that scheduling situation for Washington they find themselves in on the boys' side, that's where we make a couple of assumptions there, but if those games had to be postponed or rescheduled, whatever the case, that's when you find out who Eric Schermerhorn has in his contact book.
Yep. Because that's one thing, the IHSA said at the start of the season, your March 13th was your cutoff, but they didn't say how many games you could or couldn't play. There's really no limit. So I think if Washington say those games were postponed, as you mentioned, and you want to play a Peoria Christian or you want to play a Quest, any other school that's available that day, I'm sure these coaches would be happy to play each other.
Exactly.
And Eric Schermerhorn did tell us before the season, he said, if we lose a game, I've got teams on speed dial.
Yep.
So we'll be ready for that in case a schedule change arises.
It's pretty much the same thing that Bradley head coach Brian Wardle said earlier this year. Bradley was very lucky throughout their non-conference portion of the schedule. They don't believe they lost any games until conference play. It was
they lost the St. Joe's game.
That's right. That was right early on, if I'm correct. But then they had pretty good luck until they got into conference play.
Layup off the mark from Antonio Brown. No, not the NFL wide receiver playing in the Super Bowl on Sunday, but Limestone's Antonio Brown. Vanderheit tries to go up and under, and a loose ball foul is called.
Bucks Chiefs, who you guys got? I'm going Buccaneers.
I'm going Chiefs.
I'm not going against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
That's what it's hard to bet against Tom Brady, so my gut tells me the Bucks. Should be a close game.
I'm going with the young gun.
Yeah, and I like Pat. My uncle lived in Kansas City for a little bit. He became a little bit of a Chiefs fan living over there. It's a great fan base. And
great sports city, Kansas City.
Phenomenal sports city with the Royals. I would not be upset if they got the job done. I'll say that.
Clayton Bell knocks in the first free throw. Bell, the sophomore forward, getting some action here. His second is in. Bell has 2 points. Limestone down big. Vanderheit comes to the bench at the end of this one. 1:30 to play, fourth quarter here. Ethan Mounts, deep left wing. Jamari White works it to the right wing to Coker, back up top to Mounts. Washington still running sets. Free ball from Coker, got it. The 6'4" junior has played well today, 7 points for him despite 3 fouls.
Been very productive off the bench for the Panthers.
Free ball from Cole Leach. A little bit off. Brown with the rebound, and it's ripped away by White. Under a minute now. Washington will move to 2-0 on the season. Both victories over these Limestone Rockets. And the Rockets themselves fall to 0-2. Open Mid-Illini Conference play. Mounts just almost looks like he's playing a game of tag, just running around.
Larry, I go back to the Metamora game last year. We saw this at a little bit of a slower clip.
Yes.
Washington held on to the ball for I think it was over 3 minutes to end the half.
Well, if you want to work on your defense right now, here's the chance against Mounts.
Look at Mounts. This is really impressive, honestly.
It's like a mouse.
Yeah.
Look at this.
It's very shifty. And I think a lane violation.
5 seconds in the paint or a screen, I don't know.
So either way, Limestone will have the ball to end this one, more likely than not. 9.5 to go. Thanks for joining us today on Clutch Sports Media. Despite our technical difficulties, working through some kinks as of late. We certainly do apologize, but we're glad that you were able to join us today. Horcham up top to Leach, 2 seconds, 1 second. The shot from Deacon, no shot, and that's the game. Washington 83, Limestone 55. Big performances from Devin Vanderheit and Tyler Bass. And on the losing end, Caden Nation has a big day as well. John, your final thoughts?
Talking earlier in the game with Coach Schumerhorn, that well-balanced attack, and we saw every bit of it today. Devin Vanderheit to lead the way, but up and down, double-figure scoring. Isaac Mapson, Andrew Lewis. Saw Coker looked really good off the bench there late. Tyler Bass, a couple big dunks for the Panthers, and what you would expect out of this team. They kept that momentum rolling from Thursday. If you're Limestone, you saw some good stuff out of Caden Nation today. They limited Josh Garner, but work out those kinks in practice. I think the turnovers really killed them there at the end.
They certainly did. Washington with the big victory. They moved to 2-0 on the season. Both victories over the Rockets. Limestone falls to 0-2. Next up for both these teams, Washington scheduled to play Dunlap on Tuesday. That game still on is scheduled for now. And Limestone will travel to take on a tough Metamora team. I want to give one more shout out to Jake Weston from State Farm. Big thank you to him for supporting Clutch Sports Media and our coverage of the Washington Panthers basketball teams. Joey, your final thoughts?
Well, and I really didn't get a chance to watch the game until kind of the fourth quarter, and by that point it was well decided, but the first half was close, and this Limestone team came out and competed. Josh Gardner, Caden Nation really looked sharp today. Unfortunately, they ran into a Washington team that plays as a unit. They're very cohesive. Everyone knows their role. Everyone does what they have to do, and led by Devin Vanderheit, but everyone really stepped up, did their part today, and the Panthers a big 83-55 winner.
And that about wraps it up from Torrey Gymnasium on the campus of Washington Community High School today. So for our entire crew, Jonathan Michael doing a fantastic job as always behind the camera. Matt Harrington behind the lens on the floor and on social media. John Camosa and Joey Wright up here in the booth. I'm Larry Larson saying so long from Washington. We'll talk to you in Pekin on Tuesday.